Hello, welcome back to the series of lectures which explains some basic concepts in economics. It gives me immense pleasure to be back on this channel to explain such concepts. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Shishir Sandekar, working with BYK College of Commerce, the Department of Economics and Banking and Finance. My today's topic is related to banking, and the topic is multiple credit creation process by commercial banks, cooperative banks, or different types of banks. So, how a commercial bank creates money, how commercial bank creates credit supply in the economy, that we would like to understand in this way. Basically, there are two ways to create money. The first one is Reserve Bank of India or the central bank of the country, which prints money and money supply and distribute in the economy. At the same time, commercial banks or cooperative banks also creates the money supply. Before going to that, the functions and working of commercial banks, I would like to explain some basic principles of sound banking. I am again want to reiterate the word sound banking. So what are those principles? The first one is liquidity. Whenever any customers deposit his money with the commercial bank, cooperative bank, or any other bank, he deposit his money so that he can earn some interest on that. But at the same time, if he needs that money urgently, then he comes back to the bank and he demands his deposit back from the commercial or any bank from his own deposit. So naturally, at that point of time, the commercial bank must be in a position to repay his amount immediately. So the bank works on this principle of, say, trust. So the basic principle behind that is trust. But the bank will have to maintain sufficient amount of liquidity with themselves. If they have sufficient amount of liquidity, they can return it to their customer at that point of time whenever it is demanded. So whenever a person, any depositor, demands back his amount from that bank, and at that point of time the bank must be in a position to repay his amount. So this is the first principle, that is known as the bank will have to maintain sufficient amount of cash, that is liquidity, is the basic principle. Then second most important principle is profitability. Whenever a bank, the name itself suggests it is a commercial bank. Commercial bank means they want to earn profit. So how they can earn profit? They can earn the profit by providing loans. So when they accept a deposit, they accept the deposit for the purpose of providing loan to someone else. And when they provide loan or advance to someone else, they can earn interest on that. At the same time, they have to pay the interest on the deposits of the depositors. So what is the difference between the interest which they have paid on the deposit and the interest which they have earned on the loans and advances? That is actually the profit. So whenever a commercial bank accepts a deposit, they have to provide a loan to someone else. And if they provide more loans, they can earn more profits. If they provide more loans from the more deposits or the deposits which they have, then they can earn the profit through interest rate. But at the same time, they have to remember that if a depositor comes back to them, if he wants to withdraw his money, then at that point of time, the bank must be in a position to repay his amount. So on one hand, they have to maintain liquidity. On the other hand, they have to provide loans. So this is very difficult process for a bank manager, that how much cash they have to maintain with themselves and how much cash they can provide loan to someone else. If they provide more and more loans, they can earn more profits. But if they do not provide sufficient amount of liquidity, they may lose the trust, and that automatically leads to failure of the bank, and that is more dangerous for that bank. So on one hand they have to maintain liquidity, on the other hand they have to provide more and more loans to earn profits. And the third part, that whenever a bank provides loan to someone else, they must be in a position to recover it. So safety is third part. Safety, the bank may invest in securities, the bank may provide loan to some industries, the bank may provide loans to the agriculturists, but at the same time they must be in a position to recover that amount from the borrowers. So I have shown three different pictures in this area. The first one is about the liquidity. Second is, if you go with the risk, then naturally you may lose the safety, and if you go with the safety, then naturally the risk will be less and less. So in this way, and the third part shows that the amount of money is safeguarded. So the safety is also important point. So these are the three basic principles. One is liquidity, second is profitability, and third one is safety. So bank will have to work on these principles, and I would like to say a successful bank manager have all these three basic criteria which he has to fulfill, so that he can be called as the most successful banker. Now coming to the today's topic, that how multiple credit creation is possible for the commercial banks. So let me explain that what do we mean by primary deposit? What do we mean by primary deposit? So whenever a customer arrives at a bank, and if he deposit his 1000 rupees with a commercial bank, cooperative bank, or any other bank, then that will be called as a primary deposit. So whenever a customer approaches to the bank for the first time and he deposit his 1100, whatever the amount, with the bank, then that becomes a primary deposit with that bank. Now the commercial bank, as I have already said, they accept the deposit to provide loans. So if they create loans through that, then it will be called as secondary or derivative deposits. So first try to understand what is the concept of primary deposits. Okay, now coming to the next point. This is an interesting concept, that here I have shown a picture of Reserve Bank of India in India. So naturally at Mumbai. So naturally the RBI is the sole authority to print currency notes and coins, so that people can have money. So people have the money. Now when they have money, either they can save, the second picture, either they can save or they can spend. So it depends on a person, that what is his spending tendency, what is his tendency to save. So whenever a customer approaches to bank to deposit 100 rupees, or his employer may deposit his salary into his account, what is the withdrawal tendency of that person? Suppose a person deposit 1000 rupees in any commercial bank, or any student deposit 1000 rupees in a commercial bank, then how much amount of money he withdraws regularly for during a month, for how many times he withdraws that amount. So what is the withdrawal tendency? So this withdrawal tendency is a key point or kingpin of this multiple credit creation capacity of a commercial bank. Suppose if a person withdraws all the 1000 rupees from that bank which has been deposited by his employer, so the bank do not have any cash to provide loan to someone else. But at the same time, when I ask this question to my students, and they answer me that we withdraw only 10%, and if we want to withdraw, why we will keep the amount with the bank? So in this way, at various sections of the society, you will find out different withdrawal tendencies. Some people withdraw 10%, some people withdraw 20%, some people withdraw 100% or 90%. In this way, we can observe different withdrawal tendencies of the bank. So bank manager will have to find out what is the withdrawal tendency in that area. If that withdrawal tendency is more, then they have to keep more liquidity with themselves. And if the withdrawal tendency is less, then they can provide more loans to their customers so that they can earn more profits. So this is a crux, this is a basic element which decides the multiple credit creation process of commercial banks. So this is the something about the withdrawal tendency. Now imagine that a commercial bank collected a data, and according to that they found that people withdraw only 20% from their deposits. People withdraw only 20% from their deposits. So what is the necessary cash to be maintained with the commercial banks? What is the necessary cash to be maintained? Then I can say 20% must be maintained by that bank, while the remaining 80% will be treated as a surplus cash with the bank. So the necessary cash to be maintained by the commercial bank and remaining part will be called as a surplus cash, and that surplus cash is nothing but the amount or money available for that bank to provide loan or advance to someone else. That amount can be called as lendable resource for that commercial bank. So surplus cash. Now again there are different approaches, different views of a bank manager, that either he can invest that amount in government securities, or he can invest that amount in somewhere else, or he can provide loan to their customers. So in this way the reserve ratio is important. If that reserve ratio of cash to be maintained by that bank, people according to their withdrawal tendency, and then that determines what is the amount of surplus cash with that bank. What is the amount of surplus cash with that bank, and that surplus cash can be provided loan to someone else. Now come to the next part. The same thing we can explain with the help of liabilities and assets, that is with the balance sheet of a commercial bank. Now imagine that if a person comes to the customer comes to the bank and deposit his 1000 rupees with that bank, then naturally the 1000 rupees, the cash received by the bank, is nothing but the liability of that bank. So it will be shown on liability side for that commercial bank. A deposit accepted by a commercial bank from his depositor will be called as a liability. But at the same time, through that 1000 rupees they provide loan to someone else, then it will be called as asset, which is recoverable. So that will be called as an asset for the commercial bank. So we can continuously draw the statements of liabilities and assets of a bank to explain this multiple credit creation process. Now let us come back to how exactly the credit is created. So this slide explains the process of creation of credit. Now let us imagine that if a person comes to the bank and deposit his 1000 rupees with the bank. So just now I have said that the bank has observed the withdrawal tendency is 20%. So 20% of that 1000 rupees will be 200. So the bank will have to maintain 200 rupees with them, and the remaining part, that is the 800 rupees, will be treated as a surplus cash with that bank. And now imagine that all of that amount is available with the bank to be treated or to be given as a loan to someone X, to someone person. Now imagine that this A bank sanctions a loan to person X. Now before sanctioning of this process, the idea is not very simple, that the person has been asked to provide a loan application form, then he has been asked to provide guarantors, this and that. He has to provide number of go through the process, and after completion of that process he will be asked to, or it will be made compulsory for that person X to open an account in the same bank A, and the amount of loan will be of rupees 800 will be deposited into his loan account. Here you can observe that the original deposit was 1000. Some customer has been deposited. Through that 1000 rupees, the bank has provided loan to person X, but while providing that loan, the bank has compelled him to open an account with the same bank, and that amount has been deposited in that same bank A. Now, the person X has got loan of rupees 800, but that amount has been deposited in his new account, and now the bank allows him to withdraw that amount with the help of checkbook facility, demand draft, NEFT, RTGS, whatever it may be. So in this way, that loan has created a deposit. So I would like to provide one simple important line which says every loan creates deposit. Every loan creates deposit. So that 800 rupees is actually a fresh deposit for that bank, but it will be called as a derivative secondary deposit for that bank. Now let us assume that person X got the loan of rupees 800. He is an entrepreneur or industrialist, so he may have to purchase some raw material from someone else, so he makes a check of rupees 800 and he provides that check to the seller of raw material. Imagine that seller of raw material got this new fresh check of rupees 800, and that person say Y, or even that X may deposit that check of 800 rupees with some other bank, say B. Now imagine that bank B has got a fresh deposit of rupees 800. Imagine that a next bank B has got a fresh check of rupees 800, but that will be called as a primary deposit for that bank B. Think about it, that first bank A provided loan of 800 rupees. Now this person has deposited that 800 rupees, or make a check of 800 rupees, which is actually deposited in bank B. So bank B has got a fresh deposit of rupees 800. In this case, actually the currency note is not created. The money is not created through printing money or printing currency notes and coins, but he issued a check, and that check has become a primary deposit for some other bank. Now again that bank B thinks that what is the withdrawal tendency? Let us imagine it that the tendency just 20%, again as same as the previous bank. So again from that 800 rupees, 20% will be kept aside as a necessary cash. So 160 rupees will be kept as a necessary cash. At the same time, remaining 640 rupees will be treated as a surplus cash with that bank B. Now again, the surplus cash, what the bank will do? This is a commercial bank, they want to earn profits, so they will provide loan. So they will find out some person Y to whom they can provide loan. So that bank B provide loans or advance to person Y. Now this person Y gets rupees 640. Now again, the person who got rupees 640, he may issue one check to someone else, and that check is deposited with some bank C. Again, the bank C has got rupees 640 as a primary deposit, out of which the bank will again think this is a primary deposit, 640 rupees, 20% should be kept as a reserve. For simplicity, I am assuming 20%. So 20% of that 640 may come to 128 rupees, and so 640 minus that 128. So 512 rupees will be available as a surplus cash for bank, say next bank. Now again, 512 rupees will be given to someone else as a loan. Again, that person will deposit to some other bank or with the same bank. Again, the bank will find out what is the necessary cash required, 20%. So 512 of 20% of that, so may comes to 103 rupees or like that. So 512 minus 20%, that is say 103 rupees. So 410 rupees will be available as a surplus cash with that next bank. Again, that 410 rupees will be provided as a loan. Again, the next bank will get a fresh deposit of 410 rupees, 20%, say 82 rupees will be kept as a necessary cash, and remaining part, that is 328 rupees, will be provided as a loan to someone else. From that 328, again the next loan will be created. It will be say 328, so again some other bank will get that 328 rupees. They will keep again 20%, say 65 rupees as a necessary cash, and deducting that 65 rupees from that, it may come to 263 rupees. So in this way a process will continue. The process of credit will continue. You must remember that not even a single bank has created a single or printed a rupee note or notes, but they have created the money. So money is created through the creation process, multiple credit creation process. So the total amount of deposit, if we go in this way, 1,800, 640, 512, 410, 328, 263, 211, 169, 136, or say 109, 98, 71, 57, 46, 37, 30, 24, 19, 15, 12, 10, 8, 6, and so on. So the total of all the deposits is 5,000 rupees. Again, come back to the original slide. If you can find out the primary deposit, the first person who deposited 1,000 rupees only, but on the basis of the cash of 1,000, without printing the notes, the commercial banks created 5,000 rupees. So this is called as credit multiplier or money multiplier. How the money has been multiplied? Only 1,000 rupee note has been printed by the RBI, and someone customer has got that 1,000 and he deposited that 1,000 rupees with a bank, and through that 1,000 rupees more and more customers got the loans, and the total amount of the total money supply has gone up to 5,000 rupees. So how it can be we can find out? The multiplier is equal to K is equal to 1 divided by R. R is the reserve ratio of cash that a bank will have to maintain with themselves. Whenever it is demanded, they have to pay back. So let us assume it is 20%, and so 1 divided by 20% is nothing but 1,000 into 5, and that comes to approximately 5,000 rupees. So in this way, commercial bank creates money supply. And what is the underlying or the line which is not written on that? Every loan creates deposit. Every loan creates deposit is the basic theme of these slides. Okay, so in this way, commercial banks creates money supply through the credit supply. So if they create if the withdrawal tendency is less, then naturally they can create excessive money supply. If the withdrawal tendency is more, they cannot create it. So what are the limitations of this credit creation capacity? The limitations is the first, that RBI or the central bank of the country must print more amount of notes so that people can have notes and they can deposit it with the banks. Again, the another thing, someone will say that, is there a banking habit developed in that country? People do not have banking habits. So if they do not have banking habits, then why they will go to the banks? And even they have a banking habit, it may happen that the banks or the branches of the banks are not available. So spread up of that bank is not there. So development of banking system is also important throughout the country in equal parts of the country. Every bank or the bank must have their branches, so the banking facility must be available to the customers. And the most important part, what is the withdrawal tendency of that customer? It is observed that if a person earns very less, then the withdrawal tendency is more and more. But if he earns more and more, the withdrawal tendency is less. So that withdrawal tendency is again limitation on that credit creation capacity. Then third part, that what is the general economic condition of that country? If there is recession, no one will demand the loans and advances, so the banks will not be interested to provide loans, or they do not have any interest to collect the deposit, because if even though if they collect the deposit, there is no one to whom they can provide the money, no borrower is available. So general conditions of the economy is, say, recession, then it can be a problematic situation. But if there is a prosperity, then naturally they can create more credit supply. At the same time, the central bank of the country controls the money supply, credit supply, through quantitative and qualitative credit control instruments, through the reserve requirements, maybe CRR, SLR, bank rate, repo rate, and so on. So in this way, if the bank controls the credit supply, again that can be called as a limitation on the multiple credit creation system. So I would like to say that every person must have a bank account. Specifically, students will have to open a bank account, so that if they provide primary deposit to the banks can create derivative deposits, and more persons can get loans, so economy can prosper with that. So I hope that you must have understood the basic concepts of multiple credit creation process. If you have any doubt, you can ask on this number 9890207692, or you can send a mail on this email ID shishirchandekar@gmail.com. So thank you very much for providing a patient listening to me, and in the same way I would like to explain concepts of economics in more simple way on this channel. So thank you very much.